Welcome to today's Way Forward Workshop Leader Lunch Break, where we are featuring Felton Thomas, who I think is being lobbied to be the new Cleveland Browns quarterback, according to the chat. Felton found his love of libraries at a young age when his local Las Vegas library served as a refuge from the turmoil and temptations of his neighborhood. The librarians there noticed his omnipresence and offered him a job at the age of 13, making him the youngest library employee probably ever. He pursued studies in library science and then returned to the home city of Las Vegas and embarked on a career giving back to the institution that was so important to him as a youth. And then he saw the light and answered Cleveland's call. Since 2009, he has served as the leader of the People's University, otherwise known as Cleveland Public Library. His priorities are to remove barriers and open shelves, open outlets where people live, welcome children, serve everyone, and embrace technology, tackling the digital divide. He has received numerous recognitions for his vision of a library system that impacts and transforms lives, including 5-star status and top innovator by the Urban Library Council for his use of technology and data to inform the decisions he makes on behalf of the people he serves. He's been recognized as a person to watch, a Power 150, and one of the most interesting people in Cleveland. In his popular TED Talk, he spoke about being a drum major for peace, justice, righteousness, and change for our community. As that drum major, he has led the parade of addressing our community deficits and disparities, and he's thrust open the doors of the library to advance literacy, learning, and to serve as a hub and haven for all of Cleveland's people. He leads one of the largest public library systems in the country. And in case you didn't know, he is a huge Cleveland sports fan. This is one of the few times you may see him without a sports hat on his head. He's a proud Leadership Cleveland 2010 alum and a board member for the Cleveland Leadership Center. Welcome, Felton.
Thanks, Marianne. Tony, at least my arm would work. So I think I have a shot at the Browns, quarterback. And Marianne, I'm going to take you wherever I go because that's one of the best introductions I've ever had. So thank you so much for that and appreciate it. So I'm going to share my screen here and we are going to, hopefully everybody will be able to see this. All right, can everyone see my presentation?
Yes.
All right, so I want to start by thanking the Cleveland Leadership Center for this opportunity for me to come and speak with folks. Last year, I had the great honor of talking a little bit about a part of where the library is going, and so I wanted to focus this time, but I wanted to take this opportunity to do a little commercial for the Leadership Center. I am a board member after all. I go out and I speak on leadership across the country, and I often, one of the big questions is on leadership. And, there's $30 billion a year spent on leadership. There's, 900 million results if you do a search on leadership. As we've seen, all of that effort around leadership has kind of put us in a place where we're more polarized around leadership than ever, and always seeking out where are the leaders. But I have to say the Leadership Center has done a fantastic job of creating leaders in the city of Cleveland. Thousands of leaders, whether they're high school age young people or senior leadership, are going through leadership programs and working with the Cleveland Leadership Center. And I think the city is much, much better because of the work that the Leadership Center has done. So Marianne, thank you, and Rachel and all of the staff that are there. I see a number of them on the call. Thank you guys for everything you do to create leadership in the city of Cleveland. It's not hard, and there is a dearth of leadership across the world. So what the work you do is really, really important. Now, after that commercial, I have to throw in another commercial. It's an advertisement for Cleveland Reads. So when the mayor came on, he challenged us to really do two things. He wanted us to focus on digital literacy, which is what we're going to do in 2024, and on just basic literacy and getting people to read in the city of Cleveland. Because many of you know or may not know that 67% of the city of Cleveland read at a 7th grade level or below. And it's an effort that we all have to work on. But he challenged us to do something around reading. And so our comeback was Cleveland Reads, where we challenged the community to read over 1 million books in the year of 2023. And while I am not supposed to tell you what that number is, because my staff would be after me if I announced it, because we're going to announce it on December 2nd, we are throwing a victory bash. And I think maybe that says something. So December 2nd at 1 p.m., a whole group of us, and we want to make sure if you have the opportunity to come down, bring your favorite book. We're going to parade from the library down to City Hall. The mayor and the county executive, Chris Renane, will then announce to everyone what that number is if we attained our goal. And then we will move over to the public auditorium and throw a big party. So it may seem like a number has been attained, but I can't tell you. But celebrate with us. So that commercial is done. Now on to the program. So last time I came on and spoke to you in 2022, it was about the fact that we wanted to speak to the one of our 4 priorities. And at that point in time, I talked about the idea of closing the gaps and the inequalities facing the city of Cleveland. So I talked about our partnership with the Leadership Center, a partnership with United Way, a partnership with the Cleveland Food Bank, so many organizations that we work with to help make the city better. And changing our kind of model from a transactional model to much more of a transformational model. Today, I'm going to be solely focused on what we do to create campuses. And if I do a good enough job, maybe the folks at the Leadership Center will invite me back in 2024 to talk to you about the People's University. But let's move forward with what we do about creating campuses. I think many folks see libraries as branches, and we do that as well. But we see ourselves as the People's University. It's a part of our mission. We, as the People's University, we're the center for learning in a diverse and inclusive community. And so I wanted to make sure that you understood that as we have gone about this concept of building new buildings, we do it with the idea that we want our buildings not to just be branches of the library system, but to be campuses for everyone. And so you'll see in our new branches, the whole concept of us not being what you would see at just a normal library, but the overall effect of making sure that as someone approaches one of our libraries, they see green space, they see art, because we see ourselves as a campus and as a university. Now, for many of you, some may only know us as this downtown building, right? And I talk to lots of folks and they don't know that we actually have many more branches of our libraries throughout the city. But they know of our downtown building, right? One of the largest libraries in the country. We're the 3rd largest public research library in the country. We have some of the best collections in the world downtown in this building. But the library has always been focused on the community at large, right? We were created in 1869. And since that point in time, we've always had branches in our community. And at one time, we were kind of doing research on this. In 1918, we had 648 different outlet branches throughout the city of Cleveland, right? We had branch libraries, school libraries, libraries in classrooms. We had libraries at police stations, libraries and fire stations, libraries just throughout the city, libraries in people's homes, right? And so before the time of the Little Free Library, we were doing all of this work many, many years ago. But right now, we are a library system with 27 branches. We have branches in every one of our communities. And it's really, really important for our neighbors. So when we, in 2017, went out to our library community and started having conversations with them about what they would want from us, we asked them, like, how do you see the Cleveland Public Library? And they said, we love your people. We love our programs, right? We love our collections. But the one thing that they said was an issue was our branches. And many of our branches were built in the early 1900s. And then we had a large group that were built in the 1970s. And the buildings in the 1970s were built off of a kind of right after the Huff riots. And so they were built in a way to be somewhat very protective of the people inside as compared to a very kind of inviting space. So I think what you'll see in the new branches that we are building, they're built to be much more inviting spaces. And so I want to introduce you to them. So this is our phase one of our building process. We're going to have two phases. And in this phase, you'll see here's some of the buildings that we have just recently opened. We just opened the Eastman campus, which is at 11602 Lorraine Avenue. And you could tell here's a before picture and an after picture of the renovation that was done inside. Here's our Huff campus. Hopefully many of you have gotten a chance to see this building. This building is down the street from the new Cleveland Foundation building, right? And this building, as you can see, this was the old building, very much a bunker as compared to the more inviting, much more glass version of it that was just opened this year. Our Jefferson building on Jefferson and is again another building. You could see the difference in the openness that was kind of created in this building. Our Lorraine campus is one of our old Carnegie buildings, and it's always a challenge to do something to make Carnegie building and restore it in a way. But this building was done wonderfully, and you can see with a much more addition to be more of what would you say would be a campus. This is our West Park building, again, another historic building. A lot of folks have had this opportunity to be in this building, and here's kind of an older version of the space and kind of a more up-to-date version of our space there. This is our Woodland campus. Many folks would talk to me about this building. They would see it as it was being built. This is right there on Woodland, right, and 55th, basically, and people could see it from that space. And you can see this is our older version, a much more up-to-date version. You can see the kind of difference in the two spaces. So as we continue on, here are some of the buildings that are currently in construction and renovation. Our Brooklyn campus at 3706 Pearl, as we're kind of doing that work on that space. This is what our building at 140th, the Rockport building will look like. It's a very interesting design. I don't think they designed it for me, but it does have a very Las Vegas feel to it. Here's a picture of that building in progress right now, and we're hoping to open that up mid 2024. This is our MLK building. I hope everyone will have an opportunity to visit this building as we get ready to open it. We look to open this building in summer of 2024. We actually will have 9 floors of apartments above us on the building. The apartments will be called the Library Loft. And so it's a very interesting concept. You too could be there. Here's a commercial for anyone who might want to live with a library underneath them. Everyone tends to believe they'll be able to come down in their pajamas and just kind of get into the library at any time. Won't be that easy, but it will be still of great benefit to live right above the building. And here's the pictures from the building as it is right now. So we will then get ready to start on our phase 2 buildings. The Martin Luther King building will be our signature building for us on the east side. It will be our anchor building, and our Carnegie West building, as folks can see, this is an old postcard of the building on the left side in 1910 when it was built. And on the right side is a 2008 version of it, but we will be renovating this building as the anchor on the west side. So looking for a lot of community conversations about how we renovate this unbelievably great architectural space. And so I tried to make sure that I provided a lot of time for questions on other things other than the campuses, all in all. I see that I have Rick Ortmeyer, who is also an architect on some of our buildings there, who will be able to answer any architectural questions you have. No, Rick, you're fine there, but I will turn it back over to you, Rachel. I know you have some questions for me, and then I think hopefully that anyone might have questions about what's happening at CPL or our buildings, or just questions about libraries.
Great, Felton, thank you so much. And we've certainly had a few questions come in, so we'll jump in. For those branches that have been renovated and open, what has been the reaction from the surrounding community and the constituents so far?
It's been fantastic. I mean, you know, the number one thing that I've had with people coming to me is thank you for seeing us. You know, one of the things that we would, when we started going and having conversations with the community members about their libraries, was that they were seeing our county libraries building new buildings, and they were like feeling like, what do we need to do to be able to be seen in the same way? We want architectural spaces. We want places that our community can be very proud of. And that's really why we thought that when we built these buildings, we not only wanted to make them beautiful buildings, but we wanted to make them beautiful campuses, so that unfortunately, in some of our communities, the library is the only grand space they have to look to for safety, but also for inspiration.
Definitely, there's been some questions around the design approach for each of the buildings. How did you decide the unique designs for each of the neighborhoods, kind of reflective of the neighborhoods that they're in?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very easy as an organization to get caught up in, you know, really trying to save money by creating just one style or two styles of library, so that basically the architects can just kind of follow that style, or the builders can follow that style, and it you know, you can save lots of funds that way. But what we really wanted to do was to make sure that every library represented its community. And that's kind of the work that we did with our outreach and asking them, our communities, what they were looking for, and then having those conversations with our architects or what they would design from that, and then trying to build on that.
And are there unique collections at each of the branches?
So most of our unique collections are downtown, but each of them have collections that might be really kind of tied to the community that they serve, right? So we have, you know, certain communities, for instance, that have a lot of kids who are into manga and anime, right? So we will build collections around that for those community members and what they're looking at. Our Martin Luther King building had our historic African American collection, but it also has the Cleveland School of the Arts and John Hay next to it, with a lot of teens who were looking for items that would deal with their art.
So the So often, the right of every individual to both seek and receive information from all points of view without restriction is very crucial to our democracy. What is the state of libraries and Cleveland Public Library related to current challenges to that intellectual freedom?
Uh, I think maybe that came from our one of my board member Trustee Melody Shakarian, because I loaded that question to her because I really wanted to talk about the fact right now that we are in a very challenging space for libraries. Libraries across the country are receiving challenges to the items that are within their collections, to the programs they're doing. Library folks are receiving death threats. Staff is being attacked. Staff is being fired for holding on to books that the community, the board members say that are not to be inside their collections, right? And it is just a unbelievable time for libraries. Even in the state of Ohio, you're finding that folks are being attacked in very small library systems where they're not prepared for how entities will come in and challenge them and force them to take books out of their collections.
As you look at the various branches, how are you incorporating your literacy initiatives and priorities, especially around early literacy programming and resources into the branches?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate that we've had a number of funders, specifically PNC and the Bruning Foundation, to provide us funds that we can really focus on our youngest children, right? We do a kindergarten academy to try to get our young people prepared for kindergarten. You know, unfortunately, the crawl scores for the city of Cleveland, which is their kindergarten readiness scores, were fairly low. It was a struggle for everyone. So what we do are academies where we bring parents in and we introduce them to what they need to do to prepare their children to be prepared for kindergarten. This is just not in the city of Cleveland, but historically, children, parents, if you ask parents in marginalized communities who their first teacher is, they will say whoever's going to be their kindergarten teacher, right? But if you ask parents in other communities who their children's first teacher is, they will say, I am. As the parent, I am their teacher. And it's a struggle to get the parents to understand that they have to be their children's first teacher, and their work will be essential to getting their children where they need to be prepared for kindergarten.
What opportunities exist for community organizations in the area to use the library locations as centralized locations for residents to access services they might need, such as tutoring, food access, things like that?
So we are like, I would say, you know, I'm biased because I do happen to be the director, but I believe we're one of the great partners in the city of Cleveland. You know, many of the folks who are on this call are organizations who call us at the library and they say, we need time to do programming out of your building. We want to do, partner with you on this program. You know, externally, we want you to come into our organization or into the community and do this and partner with us. And so we see ourselves as one of the great partners for the city of Cleveland, because what we are tied to is just making the city better. And so generally, if you call us, right, we will say, what does it take for us to help you, right? If that means we need to extend our hours for the library. So if you want to do something late night program, or you want to do something before opening, we will do that as well.
Is it your hope to draw visitors from outside each community to visit the libraries? Are you looking to draw from the suburbs, kind of just within the city?
Well, I think this again is just a Felton thing. I look at TripAdvisor all the time because we're always in the top 20 things. And I keep telling our folks, we're a destination. We've got to get everybody to come downtown to see us. And our downtown library is a destination, right? We're always in the top 20 of places to go when you come to the city of Cleveland. So we want people who are outside of the city to, when they leave there, to say, Cleveland has one of the great libraries in the country. But two, we want people also to come into our branches and to see the great campuses that we've created, and that we have artwork that, whether it's WA art or other artwork we will be creating, that they should be viewing in our communities. We have great staff. I mean, people can go and do that, and we have great collections in our branches. So we want people from locally to be able to visit us, but we also want people nationally to come in. And when they come, just not hit the Rock Hall or a football game or whatever, but come to the library and see, like, we have the largest collection of material on chess in the world. We have 400 chess sets that we have in there. We have just a whole bunch of things. And any of you on this call, if you haven't been to the Cleveland Public Library downtown in a long time, we have a great exhibit up called The Archive, which is 500,000 frozen flowers. And I'm looking at you, Natalie Leak. So come down to the library and come and see us.
I'll take you to lunch.
All right, very good.
Felton, can you share a bit about the library's commitment to engaging the contracting community and elevating diversity among those who built the branches?
Oh, that's a great question. I should have mentioned that in the overall beginning. We see the fact that we want our community to see people who are building their libraries who look like them as well, right? And so one of the big things that we did with some of our processes was understanding that some of our buildings were going to be bigger than some of our smaller contractors could do. So we brought together and kind of did a mentoring session between contractors and companies and architects to try to tie them together so that people who had businesses who were people of color could be tied to other organizations who needed that kind of diversity within their applications to be a part of our team and work on our buildings, because that was a big point in the overall thing. Diversity was a big part of being hired to be a part of our team. So we kind of did matchmaking to bring these teams together. And we had great partnerships that came out of that. And Rick Ortmeyer, who's from Boswick, is a great example. They've continued to work with one of the architects that came out of that program on other programs, on other things beyond just working with them on the library.
So as you look ahead over the next 2 years, what is next for the library, and what support do you need from the community to help you reach your goals?
So I think one of the things that if I were to ask anyone, I think a lot of you, people who know me or who kind of have an understanding of the library and the greatness of the library, we have, our library system is always ranked as one of the top 5 libraries in the country continually, right? And I think that, and while the mayor and the county executive are getting to understand that, and they're starting to talk about that, I think it's one of those things, those institutions that we should talk about more, right? I just want people to talk to folks about, we have a great library system, or when you have folks come in from out of town, bring them downtown to see the downtown library. Do more to push the library system. And over the next year, our focus next year will be focused on how do we get more people access to the internet, right? We are still in the top 3 of cities in the country of people who are not connected to the internet, and we should do a lot more around that. So that's what we're going to be doing.